At this time, I would like to call to order the public hearing on the proposed annexation agreement here at Tinley Park Village Hall. Time is 6:16 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Birdie?
Here.
Trustee Brennan?
Present.
Trustee Mahoney?
Present.
Trustee Mueller?
Here.
Trustee Shaw?
Present.
Trustee Sullivan? Here. President Combs?
Present. We have a quorum. So at this time, we are going to start a public hearing related to a piece of property that's going to be annexed into the Village of Tinley Park, 55.1 acre parcel located at 7551 191st Street, totaling about, I think there's two addresses. The total is 71.9 total acres. And I'll hand it over to our counsel to give a brief explanation.
Yes, thank you. This agreement annexes a total of 55.1 acres to create a 71.9 acre parcel of property. And the property owner, as I understand it, wants to develop that property. And the village is working out a annexation agreement. It's not quite final. However, a copy of the annexation agreement in its draft form has been on file with the clerk's office for some time. And the purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony to see what sort of concerns the public may have or what sort of support or opposition the public may have as it relates to the annexation. The proposed annexation has the potential to develop a previously completely undeveloped property and to create millions of dollars in tax revenue for the village.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. So at this time, I'll look for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll for the motion to open the public hearing?
Trustee Birdie?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. We'll move on to item B, where we will receive comments from the public during the public hearing. We will ask that you come forward, identify yourself at the podium, and then provide your public comment.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Vargas, and I live at 7436 Ridgefield Lane, directly adjacent to the proposed development on 91st Street. I'm not here to oppose the development. However, myself and many of my neighbors have concerns about how the development is going to fit into our community without disturbing our peaceful neighborhood. Many of our concerns have already been brought up, and we've been talking to Dan Ritter, Pat Carr, Mayor Glotz, and the developer, and we appreciate all of the time and the effort that they have been giving us with this development. And again, I want to go on record that we're not here to oppose the development. We just need it to be cohesive and safe for our neighborhood. And as the Village of Tinley Park has stated in their standards for a special use, I quote, that the special use will not be injurious, I'm not sure how to say that word, to the use and enjoyment of the other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the neighborhood. So our concerns are not unreasonable. I served on the zoning board in Tinley Park for many years, and for each and every packet of information that I received before our meetings, I made it a point to go to each location and to do the research myself. Many times I had to take my kids with me in the car, and they would sit there and I would go through the packet, take pictures, get out of my car, and walk around the proposed development. At that point, it was fences basically and signage on buildings, but I took everything seriously. I stand here before you and I can say with 100% affirmation that I did my due diligence on every single item that was brought to me on the agenda, and I never took the residents, the business owners, or the developer's word on the proposed items without researching it myself first. I invite each and every one of you to come to my home and look at the proposal for this development from my home, from my block, and from my neighborhood. And I'm certain that there are other individuals here that would also invite you into their home so you could get a different perspective on where this development would be in relation to their homes and the effect that it would have in our neighborhood. One of our big concerns is location and the height and the materials that will be used for the fence that will be around this development. We are asking for a fence to be at least 10 foot tall on a berm to block noise, garbage, and views of our neighborhood and other things. We have been told that it's not possible and that it has not been done before around any other development in Tinley Park. However, Lenny's Gas and Wash on 194th in Harlem was annexed into Tinley Park, and it is next to a housing development that was there first. And that fence is at least 10 foot tall on a berm with limited space. That's all we're asking for, is just to have it the same. I urge you to do your due diligence and drive by 194th in Harlem and look at the fence on the berm that is placed there. Maybe knock on some of the residents' doors and ask them what kind of impact that it's had on their families and their lives. Another one of our concerns is a 24-hour McDonald's right next to the homes. The mayor stated in an email to us that he contacted 2 franchisees and asked them about the 24-hour operations, and according to the mayor, the franchisees said that they are mandated by the McDonald's Corporation for their store hours. So I contacted McDonald's Corporation and asked them directly if franchisees are mandated by the McDonald's Corporation to be open 24 hours, and their answer was no. And I have a copy of their email here with me if anyone would like to see it. I have it here. I also took the liberty on finding out who the 2 franchisees were for the 2 McDonald's in Tinley Park. And I found out that they are owned by Darren and Cass Freihag, I probably said that wrong, who also own at least 7 other locations. And I've listened to a few of the podcasts that Darren himself has done talking about his locations. Ironically, most of his locations are not 24 hours, with the exception of the 2 in Tinley Park, which again is contradictory to what the mayor was told by the franchisees that he spoke to. Dan also responded that he discussed with the Village of Frankfurt that they have not had any issues or complaints from residents with the McDonald's in regards to noise, crime, loitering, garbage, etc. So I looked up those 2 McDonald's in Frankfurt and I called them. And ironically, both of those McDonald's in Frankfurt are not 24 hours either. So of course there will be no complaints by the residents about overnight noise, loitering, and crime. Dan also mentioned the McDonald's in Oak Forest, and yes, that one does have a 24-hour drive-through located next to the residence. However, that McDonald's has been there since the 1970s, and directly to the east of the McDonald's are apartments. It was built into a neighborhood back when households maybe had 2 cars, and if they were lucky, they had 2 cars if they were lucky, and they were walking to the McDonald's and other establishments out of a necessity. Today, it is not a necessity. Everyone has cars, or almost everyone. Our concern about McDonald's and of course Lenny's Gas and Wash being 24 hours are valid. A sports dome is proposed to go across the street as well as Topgolf to the east of this proposal. And then there are all the concerts. We are fooling ourselves to think that there will be no loitering, no noise, no radios blaring, no traffic cutting through the neighborhoods, and no crime. The traffic through the neighborhoods have already increased with the Lenny's Gas and Wash in our neighborhood on 194th in Harlem. And when there are concerts, the traffic through our neighborhoods become dangerous. Something has to happen to protect the residents from this. I will say that we are disappointed that this development will consist of businesses that already reside in Tinley Park, with the exception of AutoNation. And there is nothing currently new being proposed with this development. In closing, I again invite you to come to our neighborhood, my home, and the homes of others that will be directly affected by this development to see our concerns. Because on paper, the development might look really good, but in reality, it needs to fit in and be cohesive to our everyday lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please just identify yourself at the podium.
Yes. Good evening. I'm Amanda Kowalski, and I'm the Library Director for the Frankfurt Public Library District. I am here to object to the proposed annexation of the parcel located at 7551 191st Street. This parcel is currently a part of the Frankfurt Public Library District. The proposed annexation of the parcel would result in the land being incorporated into the Tinley Park Library, with the Frankfurt Public Library District losing both property and tax dollars. In addition, both I and the Frankfurt Public Library District trustees received certified letters regarding tonight's public hearing on this property only yesterday. With only 1 day's notice, the library board was unable to meet and discuss a formal response to this notice of annexation, as the Village of Tinley Park is discussing a matter that would result in the loss of library district area. Giving the library district board of trustees appropriate notice is a matter of courtesy and mutual respect. Therefore, since the proposed annexation directly affects the Frankfurt Public Library District, and since the Frankfurt Library Board was given 1 day's notice for tonight's hearing, I am respectfully requesting adequate time for them to respond. It is in the best interest of the library, the taxpayers in our district, and the community we serve for the board to have the opportunity to meet and discuss, to confer with the library's lawyer, and to submit a formal response to proposed annexation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pamela Maloney. I live at 19153 Westfield Avenue, so I'm a part of your Westfield residents, butted up right against to the development. Again, I want to reiterate what Jen said. We are not opposed to the development. We appreciate the planning team, the developer meeting with us and talking with us. My property butts up very close to where the McDonald's is going to go. So like Jen had said, we are concerned about the 24 hours. We're concerned about the Lenny's. We're concerned about the traffic. No studies have been done in our neighborhood about what that traffic is going to entail. We don't know, do we need stop signs? Do we need, we know we live in a cul-de-sac, so we understand that some things could be deterred over there, but maybe with signs, but we don't know how it's going to impact our neighborhood. I don't know about you, but anytime I go somewhere, I like to find a back road. So if I can't get there because of all the lights, I'm going to find a back road in there, which is where they're going to come. They're going to come in our back roads. We also are talking with the developer about keeping the wooded area that's there. We believe there to be a protected red-tailed hawk that lives there. I've tried to reach out to the DNR to see if we can get somebody out. They are possible to get a hold of. We've discussed in some of our meetings who you guys meet with, so that maybe we could work with them, but I have gotten no response of who can we talk to? Who is your contact at the DNR as far as the village goes? So we'd like to keep up the wooded area, just obviously for the noise. If it's a 24-hour McDonald's, we want any kind of buffer between us and them. I'd like to also say what Jen had said to come to our homes, come and see what we're gonna see from our backyards, from my bedroom window. Am I gonna have a 24-hour McDonald's with lights shining in my face, people out there yelling, people out there screaming, concerts are over, it's time to party, it's time to go get some McDonald's? Because the first thing you guys are gonna hear is, you're gonna hear from me. It's not just McDonald's, you're gonna be hearing from me, my complaints. I don't wanna do the complaining after the fact, because what can we do then? We need to talk about it now. One last thing I'd like to say is that we are accepting that the businesses are coming. When we first moved into the neighborhood, we thought our biggest problem was going to be Friday night football games, Saturday morning band rehearsals, because it was a school. It was gonna be a high school. And when we've heard it's gonna be the businesses and it's gonna be built up, we accepted that. But we wanted to make sure that it's not just done, but it's done right. Because we wanna be all together in this decision. We don't want it to just be, okay, it's a 24 hours shoved down our throat. 24 hours, you guys have that ability to say no. We want you guys to say no to that, because we want to keep our community nice. And if they don't want to come because it's no, I think that the answer is we'll find somebody else. We'll find somebody else that wants to come and be a part of our community. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think
Thank you. Could I ask you a real quick question, just for clarification?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Pamela Maloney.
Pamela.
Yep.
You mentioned the wooded area?
Yes. So in the development, it's gonna be like a basin. They're gonna knock it all down and it'll be a basin.
Sure, you said the current wooded area, is it there's a wooded area in the northwest corner,
It is
and then
the,
far in the southeast corner.
yes, we're the northwest corner.
So that's the
Yes.
section you're talking
Yep.
about? Okay, all right. Just want to make sure I had clarity on that. Thank you.
My name's Anastasio Gamino. I live at 7516 West Ridgefield Lane, which is, my backyard faces the walking trail and this part of partial land that they're talking about, or this whole area. So Jennifer Vargas has done a great job for our subdivision, investigating all this information, and we stand behind her 150%. She does a great job for us. We're just trying to live peacefully and quietly in our area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Sandra Rennie, and I live at 7231 West 194th Street in Tinley, of course. First of all, I have to acknowledge that I think Jen Vargas's overview of everything has been spectacular, and we appreciate her work as a community person. Secondly, I know you probably remember when Lenny's was first moving into our area on 194th, we certainly opposed that as well, given the same issues that Jen has brought up for her area. And I want to say that at least if you're going to go through with this, when she talked about a 10-foot wall, we have, if you remember, if you've gone down 194th, we've got a wall, but we also have a berm, and we also have insisted that there were trees to at least stop some of the noise from the pollution that we would incur as a result of that particular development. So I say to you as people, I live in an area where there's concerts and there's children coming from even just Lenny's now, and although they have done a wonderful job with us so far, but the children are throwing their Dunkin' Donuts things and so forth and trash down those particular streets on 194th. So that is a concern, and it's a neighborhood that we respect, and we love being a part of this village. So I really think as individuals, you should consider all the elements that Jen brought up. And I hope that if in fact this goes through, this fence area is higher, and that maybe trees be planted to help with the noise, which is what they agreed to when Lenny's went in. And I think you remember that, Mr. Mayor Glass. So thank you for your help, and I hope that we really open our hearts, because we're all community members and we respect Tinley. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? One last chance. All right, any comments from the board? Go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone coming out here, speaking and giving your thoughts. And I also appreciate for everyone who came up and emphasized that you're not against the development, you just want responsible development, and you want certain things addressed. I actually, having served on the Plan Commission, I appreciate you doing that, and you're not just coming here saying, blanket, no. You're being practical, and we want to make sure that we respect that and do what we can. There were a few items that were brought up that I don't really know anything about, and as we figure out where we go from here on this, I think that there's more information that I would like to get on it. In particular, for the library board, I was not in the know about what annexation changes might happen with respect to the boundaries of the library districts. So I think that's an important thing for us to work through. If there was not adequate notice given, I'm not responsible for it, but I'll give my apology for it anyway. I think notice is really important. Some of the other items are definitely worth discussion and looking into. There seems like, without respect to this development, there's already ongoing traffic concerns just from the existing conditions, and we certainly want to make sure that those are addressed and that the development doesn't add to the issues. All the other stuff, I think, is certainly worthy of us addressing. So,
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Is there anyone else from the board?
Mr. Mayor, I have one more comment. I'm sorry.
It's very brief.
Very brief. When I heard about the library situation too, I obviously certainly think that should be something all of you should consider before making your decisions. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Let me just say that.
Go ahead, Mr. Brennan, you have
Sure.
the floor.
Thank you. Well, I'll just keep it brief. I do apologize again for the lack of notice to the Frankfurt Library Board. I do know that these items are going to be, they won't be voted on tonight. So that may be a little solace in that, I guess. So they will be tabled at the next meeting, and they won't be voted on until our January 21st meeting. So that being said, I do know Mrs. Rennie, we did, Mayor Glatz and myself did visit her house many years ago when we did incorporate the other Lenny's Gas and Wash over there, and they were very accommodating, and I'm glad to hear that it's worked out for you. They've been a good partner to the village with a lot of projects, and have always been willing to accommodate many requests from residents and with village input. So that being said, I hear everyone's comments here tonight, and I do appreciate everyone voicing their concerns, so we can approach this in a reasonable manner, like Trustee Shaw said. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Trustee Mueller, can I just add really
please.
quick to what I was saying? With respect to the library board's objection, I'm sorry, who spoke on that? It sounded like the library board wanted to prepare something to say and just didn't have time. Is that fair?
I'm sure, as you know, as elected officials, that there's a legal notice for posting agendas.
No, I get all that. The reason I'm asking is this is a public hearing, and this is officially where that is presented. But since you didn't have an opportunity to do that, procedurally, since we're looking to table this to the 21st anyway, would it make sense to continue this public hearing to that same day so that they would have time, and then that way they can have their statement on record? Because if we just close the public hearing here,
I think we'll have opportunity to add their comments to public record
Yeah.
even at the board meeting.
yeah, either way. I just want to make sure that we're not denying them the opportunity to put it on record.
That would be the board's prerogative, whichever way the board would want to go, but the public, any member of the public, this will be on the next committee of the whole meeting agenda as well as the next board meeting agenda on January 21st. And under those rules, obviously, anybody can come and make public comment at that time. So it is really whatever the board wants to do. Then, the notice for the hearing was sufficient under the law. It was short and, do apologize for that, but it was legally sufficient. So I just want to make sure that the board understands that. However, if there is, a desire to continue the public hearing to allow for this individual or additional individuals to come and give comment, you certainly can. However, I would just like to point out that they could also come give comment at the committee of the whole meeting, which occurs before any sort of action is taken. So it's not as if the individuals won't have an opportunity to be heard. And that is the purpose of the public hearing. So they've come and given their initial statement, and, if the board wants to just, I guess, advise them to come back to the committee of the whole meeting, that would be my recommendation. Otherwise, if you continue the public hearing again, I don't know if we got to post additional notices or publish additional notices or anything like that. So it would be my suggestion to actually just, if there's any members of the public that have any additional public comment, they can come and give it at the or at the committee of the whole meeting during the public comment portion of the committee of the whole.
Public hearings need 15 days, and by the time, so that you wouldn't even be able to discuss it on the 21st And as an elected official, you guys would know, it's based on action taken. So January 21st, it's 22 total days. So like Trustee Mueller said, the board meeting, the committee of the whole gives you guys 22 days, so you're not being, deprived of any comment to add to the public record.
And if there's any written submissions, especially some from the library, that they would like to make for the board to consider, that certainly will always be distributed to the board. You can send that to Dan, and then Dan can distribute that to the board, and the board can take that into consideration.
And I just want to, I think part of the confusion here is actually there's different state statute requirements for the annexation notice as opposed to an annexation agreement. So the hearing today is technically on the annexation agreement, and if we would have published notice for the annexation today, it would actually be too late by the next meeting. So it's confusing because we're trying to meet state law requirements, but that might be where the confusion happened, where you thought today is kind of the final meeting or but it's not. This is really just for the annexation agreement. So the COW meeting would be the right time to do it for the actual annexation.
Okay, I think that answers my question.
Thank you.
Closing this does not
Preclude.
anybody speaking later or presenting something via email or whatever.
Correct, it's just
That-
closing,
that was
it's
the
just closing out
important
the formal requirement of the
Yep.
public hearing. But again, it doesn't preclude anybody from submitting statements to the board that they want considered, or coming to the next committee, the whole meeting, and making whatever comment they want to make related to this item.
Are there any other comments from the board?
I'll go last if you guys have anything to add.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with what Mr. Shaw said and what Trustee Brennan had said. I think this is going to be a good development. As Tiffany said at the beginning, these are a lot of new tax dollars. I know that it's not new logos necessarily for Tinley Park, but these are quite significant tax dollars that we're looking at. And so I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks, ironing out the details, talking to residents, making sure that your concerns get addressed, and we still make sure that we move forward and try to get this property developed. I think both of those things are very important. Go ahead, Mr.
It's just address the tax comment. That's been owned by Lincoln Way for decades, so it's always been at a zero tax base. There isn't anything being produced to the library as it is, and if it was built as a school, you still wouldn't get anything. So, I mean, I apologize if there's actually development now instead of a school, which I think the school would be a larger burden, as we've seen what happened with the closing of schools in the area lately from, I don't know, maybe mismanagement. I'm not sure what the reason was. It's not my school district. So I don't think that, huh?
It was fraud, but.
Well, I don't want to say it. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. There isn't any taxes that are, right now it's at zero. Everyone gets zero. There isn't anything coming from it. It would really help the residents of Brookside Glen with any tax revenue. As regard to the fence and the berm that we discussed in the emails, like I said, there's nothing we could do about it. The Village of Tinley Park did not approve for Lenny's to put in a 10-foot fence. That 10-foot fence was put in when it was an unincorporated, so when it got incorporated, that fence came with it. So it wasn't something that we were involved with that. But Ms. Rennie is right. We met with Ms. Rennie and her husband, Bill Brennan, and I did, and the comment was that it was bringing all that noise, and we all agreed afterwards that whether it's the same business or a different business, I personally would prefer what we know. Do you want to bring, I mean, look at the speedways. Would you want, look at how some of those, the upkeep of the speedway on 80th and, and the other ones. The 80th is a clean gas station, but look at the one at Harlem and 183rd. Would we want one of those? One of these quick trips, someone that's out of the state and I don't know where they're at, Oklahoma, Texas, running it? Or would you want the gas and wash that every single one you go to is the one thing about that gas wash, whether you like them or you don't or you're indifferent? When you have an owner of a company that walks around picking up garbage with it, those are the people that you want involved in your community. You could walk by them, and that's, you'll see it all the time. Lenny will be out there walking, picking up garbage. That's actually, true story, that's how Lenny got Heine's Chicken. Walking around, picking up garbage at his store on 191st and 80th Avenue. He met the gentleman, just talking generically, saying hi, being nice like he is. And then he found out he's the guy that owned the chicken place. And now here we have Tinley Park has Heine's Chicken all the way from Moreland, which I wouldn't go down to 143rd and Southwest Highway. Now we can pick it up right in our own backyard. And all of his places are clean, like the one at Harlem. Remember when we were there, Bill? He has people, they power wash the concrete, they power wash the sidewalks. It's one thing about those gas stations, they are immaculate. So I would much prefer to have the gas station. You're gonna get a gas station there regardless. I don't want an Amoco coming in or a Shell where they're owned by some corporation and you don't know who they are. At least with a local guy, he lives in our community. His corporate office is in our community, and every single location he has is there isn't a gas station or even probably store that's cleaner than those. So as regards to the Lenny's, the contact at the DNR, I forget who asked that. I think it was Ms. Maloney, I think asked that question. I think Dan answered that. I think you were on that email. Dan answered that they're brought into this when it goes forward, right? So I don't believe, if you do, I don't know who it is. I've never talked to them. Once this goes to the next step, then they're brought into this whole equation anyways, and they look into it, and if there's an issue, well then, obviously, they kind of would supersede probably anything if they get involved and there is that issue. So calling them now, I'm not sure what that would help.
We have like front counter staff, but they don't really want to look into something unless they kind of have final plans in front of them, and then
So they need something to come across their desk, and then they will most definitely look into it, and Dan, you could hook them up with them. What's the other question? And as far as, and I agree with Ms. Rennie and a lot of the other speakers, Jen has done a great job. I actually asked her, when I became mayor, I asked her if she would come out of retirement, when she was on the ZBA, to be on the Plan Commission. Pat Carr, village manager, lives right there with them, right on that block. So we're well aware of what it would be. So it's not like we're willy-nilly in this, and, well, we don't live there, it doesn't affect us. It does. It affects the village manager that runs the village of Tinley Park. And I appreciate the comments we have. We've done a lot of talking, trying to get everything that you guys possibly have brought to us. We've been trying to, one at a time, try to either do it 100% or somehow come to a happy median. And the one thing that we did too, anyone else would have been in there, we're only developing 30% of that whole property. That's it. The other 70% of it will be undeveloped. And if you had a high school, that would have been a lot worse. What that was going in there with all the kids and the college and the noise, you'd have basketball games, you'd have football games, you'd have soccer games, and the traffic would be nonstop. So again, I think we just have a couple items to try and iron out. And again, whatever store would come into us and apply for a permit, they have to go through us anyway. So this isn't the end-all be-all. It's not like something can't be done later on. They have to apply. They have to submit a permit and an application, and they have to go in front of the Plan Commission. So the Plan Commission can very well put a recommendation to the board that this is what we feel that they should do. This isn't the end of it. This is just a start to let them start moving on the development. Otherwise, it'll never get moving. So that's kind of my comments, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I have a question, or can I have one more comment, please?
Very, very brief, sir.
Well, the high school, like you mentioned, it could have been in there, correct? It wouldn't have been a 24-hour.
Well, so
That's it.
it was owned by 210. I don't think they even had plans for a high school there, but it was owned by 210. So I don't even know if they were talking about having a high school there. There's plenty of other things that they could have done with that particular property. So
you know, I just want to add to it too. One of the things we did with Woodman's wanting to come in, the land's unincorporated. They could have came in, if we didn't get involved, they could have built their building right up against your fence, and there's nothing we could have done about it because it was unincorporated. We got in the way of that deal. Larry got involved, wants to incorporate it. It's a lot farther from the property than it would have. I'm telling you, when it was unincorporated, there's zero interference that the village could have had to make any changes. They wouldn't have had to come to us for permits. They wouldn't have had to do anything. It was unincorporated. So being incorporated is the best thing that could have happened because we stopped them doing what they wanted to do. They wanted to build it right against your houses, and that's kind of what we did. Larry, do you know how far away it is the Pete's will be from the property line?
From the shortest is about 1 football field to about 3 football fields distance from the residence to, say, the back of the grocery store to the McDonald's. And if you don't mind, if I could make a few comments?
Go ahead, petitioner.
My name's Larry Debb. Mr. Mayor, thank you, members of the board, and I'd also like to thank Pamela and some of the other people. We've had multiple conversations on the phone about it. And, you know, just so that everyone understands, we are going to put a berm around the exterior of the property now in a landscape berm with trees, bushes, and whatnot. In addition to that, then to the west and south of the McDonald's, to the west and south of the grocery store, will also be a fence with landscaping on the outside of the fence. So any of the residents looking will have some sound control and also some visual control of the back of the grocery store and the McDonald's. So I hope that the feeling of the residents is I've done everything that I can. I'm willing to do more if we have to, but I'll live with, you know, again, whatever the village board requires of me. But we're excited about the project. We want to move ahead. We'd like to break ground late spring of this year. We still have a few permits to get. We're finalizing with the Corps. The village staff has been great in helping us get through all this too. So, and as I said before to any of the residents, I'm available to talk. We did have a wildlife guy go out and look at the trees. He did not see a nest there, but he didn't say, I guarantee there's no nest for birds there. We are looking with our civil engineer about keeping as many of those trees as possible. But I don't think we'll be able to keep 100% of them, but we will be able to keep some of those. That's my only comment. And
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Jebb. All right, at this time, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll to close the public hearing?
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
That motion carries. This public hearing is closed. Thank you, everybody. The village board meeting will start shortly.